Gentlemen, welcome back to the Tiege Hanley Starting a Business, Building a Brand vlog. This one, big number 303. You have to excuse me, my hair's a little damp. I just got out of the shower, but I was super pumped to film this vlog because there are a lot of great business questions. The first thing I want to just tell you about, because I kind of come and update you on stuff, is I traded my car in. So for those of you who saw the video I did talking about, hey, I got a new car, I don't have the best track record in terms of automobiles, all right? I had a great car, an Infiniti G35 that I loved. I had that thing for like, I don't know, I think it was like 10 years or something like that. It was paid off, and I started to fall into the trap of I'm successful, if I'm being honest. I'm just gonna be honest about this whole situation with you. So I'm like, I'm making good money. Maybe it's time for me to upgrade and like show and feel like I'm a little more successful. And so what did I do? I gave my car to my stepfather because he needed a car, and I justified it because I'm like, oh, I can give my car to somebody in my family who needs it, and then I'll just buy myself a car. Anyway, I leased my car. My first car was a BMW M4. It was a great car, super sexy. I got it. I was like, yeah, this is awesome, right? Driving around really slow like an old lady, because that's what I do. It is totally lost on me that I was driving a sports car. My wife hated the car. She's like, I hate it. It's so stiff and it's bumpy. And so I had that car for, it was a 3-year lease. And I'm like, all right, I hate this car. I don't hate it. Like I thought it was a cool car. I didn't love it. I wanted something like really like just kind of like comfortable, right? I rented a Cadillac when I went on a trip like a year ago or 2 years ago, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm a cruising type of guy. So I go to the dealership. It's time to trade my car in, and what do? I'm like, wait a second, hold up. I can't go down. I can't like just buy like some like average car, because it would say something about me, right? Once again, I'm an idiot, and I bought this car that I have now with my ego as opposed to anything else. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I fell into the trap that a lot of people do, and that is feeling like you have something to prove to other people. And I have since realized that I don't have anything to prove to anybody other than myself. And so I think that I'm probably not alone, or I won't be alone, because as you climb the success ladder, you're probably going to be in a similar situation than I was. It's like, you buy something because you can, and then when it's time to like change or a car and get something else, you worry about getting something. It's so stupid. It is so stupid, and it is totally ego driven. And I'm man enough to admit that I bought that last car, or leased that last car, with my ego. I felt like I needed to do something bigger and better and more expensive, because that was going to show people that I was successful, which is so stupid, so incredibly stupid. But I think a lot of people end up doing that. Anyway, so I did a 2-year lease on this car, because I'm like, what if I don't like this car? Because I don't have a great track record with picking automobiles. And so I got it, and I really liked it at first, but it was expensive. The car that I have now that I'm trading in is retail price was like $120,000. Like stupid, just stupid. My lease payment on that is $2,000 a month. But I'm like, whatever, it's a lease, it's in my business name, like it's my company car, like, okay. I justified it a few different ways. And so I bought the car, and I'm like, okay, and I drove it. I drove it all during COVID. I drove it from my house to my office and back, and to my office and back. And so literally my everyday drive is about, 2 miles, 3 miles. I don't even drive much. And so about 6 months into the car, I'm like, yeah, this is a cool car, but I'm so stupid. Why did I do this? Why did I buy something this expensive and have this payment? And then I started building a house, and I'm like, man, I'm a real idiot, because I could have used this money in order to like buy light fixtures or like whatever it is, right? And so I'm like, okay, when I have the opportunity, when my lease is up in May, I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm trading this in, and I'm going to be smart for once. I'm going to buy something less expensive, just something to cruise around, and that'll be that. And so, as luck would have it, or fate would have it, I got an email from the dealership that said, hey, due to the used car market and due to the chip shortage, if you want to walk away from your lease, like right now, you actually have positive equity in your car. I'm like, what? Seriously? And so I email my guy Travis, or I text my guy Travis at BMW. I go, yo, I got this email. Is it spam or is it legit? He goes, no, seriously. If you want to, worst case scenario, you could come in, trade it in, and walk away if you wanted to. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. And so I'm like, why don't I come in? And you had to make an appointment to get it appraised and all that stuff. And so I went in on Saturday. And I didn't know. I'm like, okay, what am I going to get? What am I going to do? What am I going to buy now? Am I going to be able to resist the urge to buy something expensive and do something a little bit more like practical? Because the car that I have now is not practical. I don't even literally have like room enough for people to get in the back seat. And that was one of the pain in the ass with my last car, is that it was hard to get in the back seat. I didn't ever really, well, the good news is I don't have many friends that want to drive with me, but this car, it has back seats just in like theory. There's no leg room, like there's a seat just to basically say it's not a two-seat sports car, but there's no room for people even my size to sit like behind me. And so the good news also is that I've had the car during COVID, and so I literally have had like nobody in my car. Anytime we have people that we've got to go like anywhere more than just like my wife and I, we'll end up taking her car. She's got an SUV, a little SUV. And so I go into BMW, and on the way down to BMW, I was like, all right, let me just look. Like, do I want to get another BMW or do I want to get something else? Like, I've been seeing a lot of these like really sexy Audis. I was like, they look good. So I'm driving down to BMW, and I know that I have to pass an Audi dealership. So I'm like, all right, let me just run in there and take a look. So I go in there. And if you guys haven't paid attention or don't know this, the car market right now is like, it looks like they got robbed at all of the showrooms and dealerships. They have literally nothing in stock. There's such a problem and a backlog because of the chip shortage with COVID and everything that it's taking a really long time in order to get any cars. And so I go to the dealership, Audi, and I look and I walk through the showroom. I'm like, oh, that's pretty. That's $90,000. Okay, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to get a more affordable, logical car. And so I see a few different cars. I talk to a sales associate. I'm just like, you know what? I'm really, if I'm being honest, I'm not even a car guy. I'm a watch guy. I love watches, but in terms of cars, it's like they're nice, but I've never gotten like that car bug. Like, I just don't love cars the way that a lot of people love cars. And so I'm like, screw this. I'm just going to go make this easy on myself. And so I go to BMW. I get the appraisal. Good news, it is worth more than I owe on it. And so I have like $1,500 to $2,000 equity in the car. And so I said to Travis, all right, Travis, so I need to get a new car. What am I going to get? What do you have? Do you have anything here? Because I was hoping to just go, toss him the keys, pick up something new, even if I didn't like 100% like love it or love like the seat color or whatever. I was prepared to basically just suck it up and be like, I'm just getting something affordable. I'm going to drive it. I'm going to love it. It's going to be fine. So I get there, and there's nothing. There's literally like no cars. And so I'm like, shit. He takes me through the whole dealership. I go to Global Imports BMW. It's in Atlanta. My sales guy is Travis. Travis is the best. If you guys are ever looking for a BMW in Atlanta, Travis is your guy. Anyway, so Travis is walking me around, and he takes me into this like parking garage that normally has like hundreds and thousands of cars. And we're walking, and it's like a ghost town. We finally get up to the top of this thing, and there are literally 3 ugly ass BMW station wagons that are available for sale. And so I say, all right, Travis, this isn't obviously going to work. Talk to me a little bit about the turnaround time of getting a new car. He goes, well, it's going to take like 6 to 8 weeks in order to order you one from Germany. But if you go with something like an SUV, like there's like some SUVs, I believe they're made in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He goes, that's generally like a 4 to 6 week turnaround. So I'm like, all right, let me think about what car I want. And the problem is that there weren't even like cars for me to like look at, right? And so I finally talked myself into a car that is much less expensive than this car. Now, I'm not going to tell you yet exactly what car I got. I'm going to do like a video for my Alpha M YouTube channel, like, oh, I got a big car or a new car, and it's ridiculous. And people are going to be like, huh? It's going to be pretty funny. Anyway, the car's not like horrible or anything. It's a great car. So the car that I'm getting isn't like that bad. It's great. It's an amazing car. I think it's going to be cool. I actually built it affordably. So instead of like 8 cylinders, I went with 6 cylinders. it was funny because we're sitting there like building this car, and Travis is like, massaging seats. Do you want those again? You've got them in your car. I'm like, wait, I've got them in my car? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I literally have never used them, so I'm assuming I don't need them. So no, I don't need that. Do you want this? No. Do you want like auto remembering like passenger seat like that? No. Like I tried to build this thing like super affordably. And then I'm thinking, all right, cool. I'm going to like cut my payment in half. Wrong. It didn't work that way. And the reason is because apparently I learned a lesson about residual value. Residual value, if you ever go and you lease a car, and this isn't a debate whether or not you should lease or buy or anything like that. Now, in terms of why I lease versus buy, there are reasons for that. I don't want to get into it here, but bottom line is that I got an education on residual values, which I didn't understand before in terms of how lease payments are calculated. So to give you an idea, on my car, when I bought it like a year and a half ago, the residual, or what they're basing the lease payment on, was 61% of the value that you're actually buying it. Then they're saying, okay, by the end of this lease, it's going to be worth 61% of what the retail or MSRP value is right now. And I may be butchering this, but you'll get the idea. And so he shows me what my payments are going to be. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, why is it so expensive? It's less than my current car, but it's not as low as I thought it would be. And he's like, well, the residual value is lower. I'm like, well, why? He's like, well, there are a lot of factors. And then the finance manager came over and he started like trying to explain why and what and everything. So apparently the residual value on my new car that I'm getting is 52%, almost 10% lower, which means that my payment is high. It's hard to, anyway, it's not as low as I wanted it to be. I'm going to end up saving like, I think it's like $700 a month, which is great. But I was thinking I was going to be able to save like $1,000 a month. Now, the interesting thing is that when the BMW finance manager came over to me and I was like, I was just hoping to get a really low payment. He goes, we can get you a low payment. If you're willing to go like in that car, I can get you like under $1,000. I'm like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, I thought you don't care what you drive. I'm like, apparently I care a little bit more than I thought I did about what I drive. Anyway, guys, all that to say that this past weekend I went in and I decided to trade my car in, and I built a new car that I will tell you about in 4 to 6 weeks. It's a cool car and I'm excited. I hope that I don't make a mistake. I hope that I don't regret it, but chances are I will, because that's how I roll. Honestly, the car that I should get is a minivan, because I love minivans. Call me crazy, call me an old man, I don't care, but I love minivans. Not only are they cool, they're roomy, they're practical, and they're comfortable to drive. I should have gotten a minivan. Would my ego allow it? No. But should I have? Yes. That would be funny. Like, I got a new car, big reveal, like it blacked out. You're like, what outfit get? And I rock like a Honda minivan. I should do. I'm going to get a minivan, whatever. Gentlemen, now what I'd like to do is get to some of your amazing business questions. The first question is from our friend Lazaridis Jonathan. He says, you recently talked about the launch of Tiege Hanley Body Wash, but you also sell your own body wash at Pete and Pedro. Were there any conflicts or dilemmas you had when thinking about how you were going to promote both of them without lowering sales in the other two companies? Was there a specific strategy you followed? And did you have any discussions about that with the other guys from Tiege prior to launch? So, yeah. So this is a challenging question for me to answer because there's a lot that goes into this. In terms of yes, both companies sell body wash. There are certain products that Pete and Pedro sells that Tiege Hanley doesn't sell. There are certain products that Tiege Hanley sells that Pete and Pedro doesn't sell. Like, Pete and Pedro is never going to sell like an eye cream. Pete and Pedro is not in the business of men's skincare. Tiege Hanley is starting to roll out a lot of new products. And this is something that I'm incredibly proud of Tiege Hanley for doing, because this is something that we need to do. And that is something that I learned through the Pete and Pedro experience, is that, when you come out with products, you got to keep the product funnel or the new product innovation funnel like full and churning out new products. This is one of the ways and the easiest ways to increase average order value, also increase lifetime value. Because when a customer comes into your system, right, they love your products, they're buying it. And so it makes sense that if you come out with additional products, chances are they know that they already love this product from you, they're gonna buy the other products. And so with Tiege Hanley, Pete and Pedro, yes, there is crossover in terms of a lot of guys buy hair product from Pete and Pedro, a lot of them buy skincare from Tiege Hanley. But once they're kind of there, right, how they operate and utilize the two different companies is very different. Tiege Hanley, we need to continue to innovate and come out with new products. Now, the great news is that one of the bottlenecks we've had has been our chemist's ability to iterate on products. And what I mean by that is our chemist is amazing, and he came out with the foundation formulas that are unbelievable. Now, the problem though is that when it came to these other products that like body washes and deodorants and some of these other things, he was kind of like learning on the fly. Not that he didn't understand how to make these products, not that he can't analyze like a product and be like, yeah, these ingredients are shit, they can come out, we should add this. Like he can do that all day, every day, twice on Sunday. But in terms of his bandwidth, because he still has a job working for another company, it was limited. And so when we would have him create something like a body wash, he would make it and then we would send it to our manufacturing partners. They would get it, make it, analyze it, try to put it through some of the rigors in terms of stability testing and things like that, see if it separates and whatever. And if it did, if it passed, great. If it didn't, bad, back to the drawing board. And so the chemist then would have to reconfigure things. And so it was a very labor-intensive process, which is why Tiege Hanley, who does only custom products, Pete and Pedro does some custom, but also does some private label products. Tiege Hanley, that is one of the biggest bottlenecks, is that we didn't have enough products in development in the funnel so that we were constantly coming out with products. So it took us forever to launch like new products. Acne was one of the first products, big win. And then it was like, a few other products. But now we hired somebody that is, in terms of product development, rock star. It doesn't get any better. I'm not sure if I'm able or at liberty to tell you who he is. I'm going to ask, but he has made products that you've all heard of for a lot of companies that you have heard of. And he is an absolute rock star when it comes to this industry and products. And so we struggled for ages on that deodorant, right? We currently are testing 4 amazing deodorants, natural deodorants that have already passed stability because this guy, he does what he does and he knows how to do it and he's got the connections to labs all over the world. And so our product development pipeline has gotten really full, really fast, and we are going to start to iterate and crank out a lot of amazing products. So was there a strategy in terms of launch? Not really. Pete and Pedro got the green light to come out with body wash. I went to my lab that I use for Pete and Pedro. Boom, we came up with the formula. It took a while, and then we launched it. Tiege Hanley also has much bigger minimum orders that they need to do, right? Pete and Pedro can order 5,000 units of something, and that can sustain us for a while. Tiege Hanley, because of the volume of our customer base, we need much larger minimum orders or else there's an issue. And so packaging is bigger. Everything is bigger and takes more money, time, and resources in order to get. Now, you throw on COVID and the disruption in supply chain, and that's a whole nother animal. So anyway, all of that to say that yes, both companies do sell the different body washes. Pete and Pedro came out with body wash like 2 years ago. Tiege Hanley recently rolled out a body wash. They are different. They are different price points, but they are both amazing. And so if you're a Tiege Hanley customer, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you check out the Tiege Hanley body washes. Give them a try. See if you love them. I'm sure you will because they are amazing. But the bottom line is Tiege Hanley is about to start dropping bombs in terms of products on your handsome face. Next question. The second business question is about last week's vlog. Last week's vlog, I talked about Enemy and the fact that I looked at possibly selling it. I am not selling it. I am keeping it, but I definitely need help in taking it to that next level. I actually, interestingly enough, have a few calls set up with some of you guys that have actually reached out. You guys, I can't believe the quality and the caliber of you guys watching this vlog. Like, it's unbelievable. Some of the guys that reached out, I'm like, really? Let's talk. I don't know if it'll work out, but anyway, I'm excited to have the potential and the opportunity. But anyway, that brings me to this next business question from our friend, Mechanical Capital Business Engineered. He says, Enemy is such a cool company. Have you thought about 2 things? Number 1, putting in an operator if you don't already have one so that it takes less of your time in exchange for a smaller upside, but a more passive upside. So yes, Enemy has an operator, more of an operator, Paul. I mentioned him in last week's vlog. Paul kills it. He crushes it. He really has helped me and takes a lot of stuff off of my plate. The problem is that he and I struggle with direction a little bit in terms of what we need to do, where we need to do it, where we need to focus, and how we can take enemy and scale it. That's something that I am looking for sort of help with. But no, I've got an operator. Paul can get the job done. Now, in terms of his skill level, the enemy, like paid ads, he does have skill. Is he the greatest in the world? No, and he'll admit that. But he's good, and he's tried a lot of things. And he's figured out like the remarketing end of things, which is important, but that cold conversion, we don't have either the collateral in terms of like a sales like mechanism or the ad or the targeted audience, right? We just haven't figured that out yet, but we're working on it. The second option, he says, is doing a collaboration with an apparel company like How to Beast's Edge. The sunglasses are amazing, and I feel like there's a bigger pie that can be sought after here. Much love, and I really enjoy your content. So in terms of a collaboration, I have toyed around even with bringing other like influencers into the fold in terms of saying, hey, why don't we create this as sort of like a collective? You know, Enemy as a brand that we all kind of like own, you know, and you get, you know, ownership, and for that, you have to do, you know, one promotion a month or whatever it is, and then we'll do, you know, a profit sharing or distribution or whatever at the end. I have thought about and considered that. The challenge is that you really don't know how effective people are going to be and how much that's really going to move the needle. And you also have to think of it from an influencer's perspective, where if I give somebody 10% and that 10% equals maybe, I don't know, whatever, $10,000 a month, but then they have an opportunity to make $20,000 a month doing something else, they're going to go where they make the most money. And it's just a simple, you know, game of you go where the economics leads you. And so this is a great idea and something that I'm still like kind of wrapping my brain around. The other thing that I've realized through using a lot of influencers through Tiege Hanley is it's tough to find people that are really good at converting for a good and reasonable CPA. And so I have tried using influencers for the Enemy game in terms of paying them to talk about. I've even used How to Beast. And they do well. Do I make my money back? No. Sometimes it's not about that. But with Enemy, the lifetime value isn't there enough in order to make that a viable model. And what I mean by this is, and I'm sorry I'm going long on this, what I mean by that is if, say I pay somebody $5,000 and say they generate $3,000 in sales, right? And I lose like $2,000 on that promotion, and you would think, oh, that's $2,000, but do you make it up on the back end? Do I have enough products for the people that actually bought from that promotion to actually increase the long lifetime value of those people in order to make them more valuable, to basically make up the delta of the loss I'm taking on the paid promotion? And also, you got to consider how much is brand awareness, how much is that worth? You know, all of these things are things to consider, but with Enemy, I just don't know that that's a viable option yet. But in terms of a collaboration, I think that's cool. Have I thought about that? The answer is no, honestly. I haven't thought about going to like a, you know, a How to Beast or somebody who has like a cool apparel company and doing some type of collaboration. Once again, it comes down to margin. You know, the Hanley sunglasses, if I could go back, I wouldn't make them as high quality. And when I originally launched these things, if you remember, I started at a higher price point, around like $150. But, you know, that apparently wasn't a price point that I felt was viable. If I was selling them at 150 bucks, then I have the margin to do a lot of paid advertising and things of that nature. But I took the assumption that keeping them under $100 was a better long-term play, you know, sell more at a lower price point than less at a higher price point. But it still doesn't change the quality, and the quality is still super high. And so this is where I'm running into issues, but great question, and thank you. There are two more business questions that I want to get to real quick. I know this is going long. I have been talking up a storm. Also, update, big news tomorrow. I've got a meeting with the Four Horsemen for the new house. I'm excited. I'll give you an update possibly next week on what's going on there. I even thought about bringing the camera, but I'm like, that would be weird. I need to focus and not make them talk on camera yet. Anyway, the next business question comes from our friend Mohammed Tamri. He says, Is perfume business and starting a perfume brand, is it good or not, and how to do it right? So yes, like I have crushed it with Pete and Pedro's fragrances. It's an amazing business because the margin is great. The tricky thing is developing an audience. You know, the other hard thing about starting a perfume or a fragrance company is explaining what it smells like, right? And one of the smartest things that I ever did with Pete and Pedro, people like will give me shit for it, but honestly, it's the reason why I sell like millions of dollars of fragrance. And that is because I basically modeled them after popular, expensive fragrances that people know and respect. And so the reason why I sell so much Rebel is because I let people know, hey, the inspiration is Creed Aventus. Creed Aventus is normally $350. It's not a clone, it's not a copy, but it's heavily inspired. This is the reason why people buy it. You know, if I just came out and I'm like, this is my fragrance. It's got notes of this, it's got notes of that, and it really smells good, I promise. How many people are gonna try it? Less, right? But if you're like, yo, if you like this, you're gonna love this because this is $350 and this is like they get it. People, it clicks immediately. Villain, another great example. Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, super expensive. Villain, under 50 bucks. And that stuff, that has been like people, like the reviews on Villain have been insane. And so now I'm actually in the process of coming up with fragrance number 5. And so I'm trying and experimenting, but yeah, fragrances, great business if you can figure out the marketing angle. That is the number one most important thing you got to figure out pretty much in any business, but fragrance even more so. And the last business question is from our friend, I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize in advance, from Kranalraj Sin Zala. Sorry, brother. Anyway, before I get to that, guys, if you've got a business question down below, start it with business question and ask your question. Each week I try to get to a few of them because this vlog is all about helping you be better and build your amazing brand dynasty, right? Be an entrepreneur and avoid some of the stupid mistakes that we've made at Tiege Hanley starting a business and building a brand. Anyway, this last question is, so in your Alpha M YouTube channel, you have many videos on how to communicate with women, but can you make a detailed video on how to communicate with business people or other people in real life? Thank you. This is a great question. I think that at some point I'll probably do that on this vlog. You know, the Alpha M YouTube channel is kind of a different animal. If I did one dedicated to like how to communicate with business people, it would get like 5,000 views. So I'm probably going to do it here, but I think it is valuable. Is it going to be as in-depth as you would like? I don't know, but I could definitely give you some tips in terms of etiquette and ways to approach people in the business world, because that is definitely a critical component of you being successful, being able to communicate your message and engage people. And if you can be likable, like that's like half the battle, but definitely something that I'm going to consider and try to make happen for you in the coming weeks. Gentlemen, that is where we are going to wrap things up. We love you more than our double monk strap shoes. And if you haven't customized your Tiege system, gentlemen, it's all about you. You can completely go into your dashboard and customize, build whatever box you want. 1 product, 2 products, 10 products. It's up to you. We heard you. We listened. We executed. And now Tiege Hanley is a better company to help you look and feel amazing. Guys, thanks for everything. Go to your dashboard, check it out. It's awesome.